am Lavina Emma. Now, this week we're going to look at the week in review, everything that happened in our economy this week, from the MPC meeting, how interest rates was increased, to the current, how the naira is trading amongst other foreign currencies, and the inflation in the country right now. So I'm going to be discussing all these issues with my guests. But before we talk about our economy, let's talk about trading at the Nigerian Exchange Limited. Now, trading is still going on the floor of the stock exchange, but we can talk about how the stock market fared from Monday to yesterday, Thursday. So transactions on the floor of the stock exchange on Thursday, 23rd May 2024, closed on a negative note. Now, the all-share index declined by 0.15%, settling at 97,978 from the previous close of 98,128. Now, this brings the year-to-date at 31.12%, and the month-to-date to a negative of 0.25%, and the week-to-date also to another negative of 0.15%, respectively. Now, market capitalization closed at 55.424 trillion naira, with an aggregate of over 316 million units. And the all shares traded at the floor of deals were traded as of 7,582 deals were traded, which was valued at 7 billion naira. So those are the figures from the stock market today. So my guest this morning, joining us virtually, is Steve Okafor. He's a stockbroker with over 20 years experience in the capital market. He's currently the CEO of Kofana Securities and Investments. So he's joining us virtually this morning. So Steve Okafor, are you here with us now?
Very much around with you. Good morning.
The program this morning.
Morning.
Okay, so we're talking about how the stock market traded this week. Yes, I know trading is still going on at the Nigerian exchange, but from Monday to Thursday, what was the trading floor like? Was it on a positive note or a negative note this week? And okay, let's start with that first of all, trading on the stock market.
Currently, we're having a bearish run in the market. It's not unforeseen. The CBN and the Monetary Policy Committee came up with another increase on the MPR, and we know what normally happens when the rates and more like the fixed income market goes up. There is a tendency for people to realign their portfolio and possibly sell and move their money to fixed income market. So we're going to be seeing the bearish run in the market, and it's going to be a tough one. I must be honest with you. Remember that investors think of returns. You know, they weigh their returns against their risk. And right now, as it stands, if the risk of investing in a fixed income, which is almost very minimal, is the risk, and if the returns in that fixed income is getting better with a minimal risk, the return in fixed income is getting better with a minimal risk, you should then be rest assured that investors in the equities market are going to take a flight. That's the truth. We are in for a very tough time in the stock market.
Okay, so that means the market closed on a bearish note. That means it closed on a negative note, but we can't really see anything happening today, Friday, that could change the tide to make it a bullish note, making it close on a positive note so far. What do you think of this?
Not at all. The only the only thing that would have brought about maybe a shift in sentiments is the result of First Bank that just came out after a long-awaited time from January to now. They just came out with their result, but the dividend again is for just 40 kobo, which is barely not encouraging at all. Less than 5% of the current market price. That's the dividend yield. So nothing so far. I must be honest with you. Yes, we see glimpse of some stocks doing well, like Julius Berger is actually moving up. Yes, yeah, is understandable. Julius Berger is in the construction sector, and we expect that because of what the current government, the administration is doing in terms of construction, that Julius Berger will benefit greatly from it. I think that's the only green light that I've seen so far that is encouraging. But aside from that, I'm actually when I look at the banking stocks, it touches my heart seriously because considering the recapitalization drive they are going to do, and the rates in the fixed income markets is going to be a Herculean task for the banks to do their recapitalization. That's the truth.
Okay, let's also talk about the top gainers this week. That's CI Leasing, Carverton, Champs, Cornhall PLC. These are the companies that they had some, they traded well this week. So let's talk about the top gainers. First of all, these few companies that I mentioned.
What you need to understand is sometimes most of these stocks, when they have dropped to what you would call a reasonable level, you see investors trying to pick them up and then drive them up a little bit. But by and large, there's actually nothing too significant nothing too what I will call something to cheer about. They are not the stocks that move the market. They are not the stocks that most investors look at. You see, the Charms you're looking at, okay, it fell all the way from 2.3 to current market price as of 1 naira 70 something kobo. So people that possibly bought it at 2 naira 30, 2 naira 40, and it's now 1 naira 70, they are, or 1 naira 50 something. They are trying to possibly average their cost downwards. So basically in the process of averaging downwards, that's why you see these shifts and make it look as if they have gained. But you have to look at where they are coming from, the price from which they dropped from, before you talk of whether they are making any significant gain or not.
Well, like you mentioned, Champs, yes, it was at 1 naira 50 kobo, and Cornhall, that's 1 naira 38 kobo. Yes, like you said, it's the investors that are driving the market. That's why these companies are the top gainers this week. But looking at the top decliners, NEM, FTN, Cocoa, Tantalizer, J. Paul Gold, these are our top decliners this week. So what do you have to say about these companies that they didn't trade too good on the stock market this week?
That is exactly what is happening generally in the market. Now, Sky Aviation, for example, if you look at when they did their last offer in the market, it was in the neighborhood of 5 naira, 6 naira. So for most people that bought it at that price and is currently going for, even at 20 naira, they are home and dry. They can afford to sell. You understand? NEM Insurance was languishing at 2 naira plus for a long time, and now he's at 7 naira, 7.65. So from 2 to 7, that's the percentage gain. So what I'm saying is this: ordinarily, these stocks are supposed to continue on a bullish trajectory. But because of the fact that there is an alternative market, alternative investment that will give them a better return, and they are not possibly so sure that the stock market will remain bullish. So why not take a bail? Why not take a run and recoup, possibly take a profit from what you have invested in and then move it to a market, to the fixed income market with less risk and all that.
Okay. So these are the sectors that have done well this week. Well, it wasn't like the way it was last week with the banking sector and all companies. We have other companies that have gained this week. So yeah, so I think every week we always see changes in the market. Some companies, some sectors do well depending on things that happened this week. Like you rightfully mentioned, the announcement by the Central Bank of Nigeria with the increase in the monetary policy rates has also influenced changes in the stock market. But let's talk about the all-share index. How has the all-share index performed at the Nigerian Stock Exchange this week?
First of all, before we look at that, let me tell you what happened last week and possibly 2 weeks ago with respect to banking stocks. You see, most of the banking stocks came out with their results and their dividend. That's what they call corporate actions. Their results were, in terms of dividend payout, were quite not too bad. You understand? And most investors who have held these stocks, who have held these shares till the announcement of dividend, most of them wants to hold on until they get the dividend. So you expect that because of that holding on, there will not be a run on the shares and there won't be a sell. But right now, most of them have marked down. What marking down is when a company, after declaring its dividend, the last day of the trading, that if you buy after that day, you will not benefit from the dividend. Then that's the markdown. On that day of the markdown, that dividend payment will be yanked off. That amount, absolute amount, will be yanked off from the price of that shares. That's so the whole of last week and this week, towards the end of last week and this week, we started noticing markdown in the share price of banking stocks. And you know, after the dividend, because of the increase in the NPR, you also see people now feel that they no longer have anything to hold on to. There's no reason to hold on to the shares of these banking stocks. They now started dumping. So the all share index will definitely, as the market becomes bearish, you also expect the all share index to go down. That's the truth.
Okay. Now, before we round up this segment, now what factors do you think might influence today's market's performance?
The biggest factor is the NPR. That's the biggest factor. You see, if you look at it, when I talk of fixed income market, I'm talking generally about treasury bills. I'm talking about federal government bonds. I'm talking of commercial papers. These things take a cue from the NPR. Now, the federal government savings bonds for last month, for 3 years, came as much as 20-point-something%. Okay, now that was before the increase from 24.75 to 26-point-something right now. So right now, in the next federal government savings bonds for next month may touch 22% for 3 years. So most investors are already anticipating that. So you expect that there is a movement. People are going to look at which stock have I made a gain in. Let me sell and move the funds to that federal government savings bond or any fixed. And as long as the interest in the fixed income market, the NPR is high, it also affects other money market instruments. It affects fixed deposit, it affects commercial papers, it affects treasury bills. So these are the things. And I must be honest with you, the stock market, I keep telling my colleagues that whenever you want to advise people to invest in stock market, you look at drivers. What are those drivers? What are those things that are going to make the price of the stock you want to advise? What is going to make that stock to go up? Right now, I don't see much drivers in the stock market.
You don't see much drivers in the stock market. So if you were to advise any investor this week going into next week, what stocks should they buy? What shares should they invest in? What would you suggest?
As it stands, I look at, you see, this is the time for people to buy for long term. This is the time for people to do what I call staggered investments. You see, now let me take you back to the recapitalization issue I was talking of. If you check what the banks are generally doing, all the banks are taking the route of rights issue. Rights issue is to existing shareholders. Now, what it means is that even the banks recognize that it may be a difficult task. Throwing it out as a public offer, people may not respond. So they are rather relying on their existing shareholders who wants to retain the proportion of their shareholding in these banks and will not want possibly to lose the rights. So there is going to be a more like what you would call emotional blackmail. They are going to blackmail you into buying. You don't want to lose your proportionate shares in the company, you're holding in the company, so you'll be forced to buy your rights. So basically, what I will do is, one, for those people who already have shares in the banking stocks, I'll tell them to get ready to pick up their rights. Don't ever lose your rights. Then I just mentioned Julius Berger here. Julius Berger has been doing very well. And like I said, you don't need any associate to tell you that they are heavily involved in the construction process in the country. So from a price of less than 60 naira is over 80 right now. And I see with the way it's going, I see Julius Berger touching 100 naira to come. Then MTN, I'm still, despite the fact that they declared a loss, the business they are into is something that you can never discount, and it's going to still do. So I'm picking up MTN gradually, but I'm not doing it with assuming you give me 10 million right now, I will throw in 3 million first. That's what I call staggered investment, and see how the market reacts before putting it and putting another. The only stock I can be very bullish on right now is Julius Berger.
Okay, thank you very much for your advice and your insight into the Nigerian Exchange Limited, as we talked about how the stock market is trading this week. And like you said, you see the market closing on a negative note this from today, Friday. So thank you for joining us this morning on Market Insights, Mr. Okafor. And we look forward to having you again to share your insights into the Nigerian Exchange Limited.
Thank you. It's nice talking to you guys.